Kia ora e te whānau. Today we have Carlene Hereora joining us. Have I pronounced that surname correctly, Carlene? I'm sorry if I didn't.
Hereora.
Oh, yeah,
Hereora.
sorry, mate. I knew it didn't
Ah,
sound right when it came out my mouth. How you doing anyway?
I'm feeling good, feeling real good today.
Yeah. So I wanted to have a chat with you about this, and I struggle with using the word documentary, but I'm going to use it as a very loose word. What was your initial reaction to this Fire and Fury documentary?
I renamed it a flopumentary. That was my initial reaction. Absolutely disappointed in New Zealand journalism, with all the money that we believe that was used to fund this pathetic project. They could have done a better job. So I'm disappointed for taxpayers more than anything. That our state journalism has come to this. So that was my initial reaction, because I had no idea. Everyone knew about this for a good 24 to 48 hours that this was actually out there. I was on my way home on a bus from a wānanga in Taumaranui when I got a invite to do counterspin, and I wasn't too sure what it was about. So they sent me through the link to view the documentary. So I spent some time on the bus watching that, and honestly, I laughed through most of it.
Yeah,
Absolute joke.
um, yeah, your face was right there, front and center, right at the beginning of that documentary, and I can imagine you've had quite a number of people reach out to you since then. Is that a correct assumption to make?
Yeah, this will be my third national interview of some sort. I've done Counterspin. I was on Vinnie Eastwood yesterday, and I'm here with you today. I haven't even done a rebuttal on my own platform. I'm gearing up to do one at 9 o'clock tonight, to
No.
really just kind of broaden people's views of myself first and foremost. Because one thing that I was really disappointed in was they never at any point showed the public the work that I actually do. It was nothing but labeling me, and putting me into certain boxes that are irrelevant to the work that I do. So tonight at 9 o'clock on Facebook, I'll be going live just to remind people and share with people who may not have followed me or may not have known of me before this flopumentary, to give them a good indication of what I actually do and why I got into freedom fighting.
Absolutely. So we'll definitely keep an eye out for that 9 p.m. Live on your page. If you could put it into a few short sentences, what is it that drives what you do? What do you do for those who don't know?
In short layman's terms, I hunt pedophiles, is what I do. And that came about from myself and my partner uncovering an international child sex trafficking ring right here in our home region of Northland at the beginning of 2020. And I'll just throw this up. I'm actually going to show this properly on the live, so people who are watching probably won't get to see this. And I've never
Mm.
made this public before until I made it public on Counterspin the other night. And this is the real reason I got into freedom fighting. And this right here is an official High Court charge sheet against the main perpetrator of this trafficking ring. This is a summons to me as a witness to appear in the High Court in Whangarei. The date for our appearance was on the 19th day of April 2021. Now, people probably wouldn't know, but that case actually ended up, we didn't have to testify because the main perpetrator, who was the head of this trafficking ring, ended up pleading guilty. So we didn't actually have to go to court and testify for that. But on here is all the original charges. He was up for 28 charges, which was heavily reduced to 21 charges. They negotiated with him in order for him to plead guilty, so that the 15-year-old girl involved in this case wouldn't have to testify. So I'll be going through some of those charges later on this evening.
All
But it
right.
was a corruption that I saw throughout our court case, some of the people that were involved in helping some of these perpetrators. There were 5 perpetrators arrested, all up in this trafficking ring, and 4 of them were given home detention. And only the main perpetrator was actually sentenced to 7 years, 10 months in prison. So part of our Dark to Light hikoi was exposing the corruption of our court case. And it was the fuel for my fire to get out here and freedom fight for crimes against children.
Good on you. Good on you. And just going back to this Fire and Fury documentary, because you are mentioned in so many parts throughout this footage. Did at any stage did they reach out to you for comment on this documentary? Were you approached at all?
Not at all. And
No.
we're just about to dig into, because I've never cared too much about mainstream media, but now that they've plastered my name all over the motu, I'm going to be learning as I go in regards to broadcasting standards, ethics, and guidelines that they're supposed to follow. And the first thing that they're supposed to do is actually make sure that they get both sides of a story.
Absolutely.
And they interview people involved to get a more balanced outcome for the public before they even put anything out there. And if everyone has watched that documentary, you see that 2 of the women that were part of the protest in Wellington, they actually featured in the documentary, having proper sit downs with them. So they approached those 2 women, but they didn't approach the rest of us.
Sorry,
so
which woman that you're referring to?
They were the 2 elder women. One was from Tauranga, I believe. They were just protesters. They were there because of mandates. They had been mandated out of their job. I believe one of them was a nurse. But they actually done sit-down interviews with them after the protest. So why they didn't come to the rest of us for the exact same thing is I'm not too sure why they didn't. Or maybe I am, but it's all a conspiracy right now.
We love our conspiracies, don't we? Hey, I've got this quote. Well, one of the first things that was brought up in this documentary was a bit of footage of you, and in that footage you say, we are going to take these mofos out legally. What did you mean by that?
So that video, they took a snippet from a live I done in Waitangi back in January of this year, when we exposed the fiscal envelope ceremony that took place up at the treaty grounds here in Waitangi, where they filmed a prelude ceremony because Waitangi Day wasn't going to go ahead because of COVID and things like that. So they had all gotten together and tried to pull this ceremony off without the people knowing. Now, for people that don't understand what the fiscal envelope ceremony is, every year 3 envelopes are given to the Ratana Church, the Kingitanga, and to the Waitangi people in regards to being given the right to govern over us. And I exposed that, and I was actually talking about my own people in Māoridom for being a part of that hypocrisy, when we know that the fiscal envelope is supposed to take its place on the 6th of February with the people as a part of that ceremony. But this year they decided to do it behind closed doors and not invite anyone. So I saw that as what we call a kupapa tactic or a traitorous tactic, and that was done by our own people. So I was actually in that video where they have cut out a snippet. I was calling out our own iwi leaders, our own runanga leaders, and even some of our hapu leaders who had given permission for this ceremony to take place without notifying the people, the tangata whenua and mana whenua of this land. And when I said legally, I meant that there is a way for us to hold these people accountable for these treasonous acts, and that is by holding what we call a pā-kōti. It is the equivalent to a court case in your normal high court in your corporate jurisdiction, but in a sovereign jurisdiction. So that's the context of that video. And everything that I've ever wanted to do to hold people accountable was to be done lawfully, legally, and with the right representation for both parties. And not once ever have I thought about executing anyone. It's not in my blood. It's not in my bones. It's not in my lane. If anyone's going to be executed, it won't be because of my decision. It'll be because of either a people's court or a lawful court.
Absolutely. Thank you for putting that in a bit more context. Really appreciate that. They also mentioned there near the beginning that you are on their list. How does it feel to be on someone's list?
I've known about this. I've known that I have been on their to watch list since I started this because of what I fight for. Now, for people who don't know me, my fight against crimes against children is the underbelly of all corruption in the world. And this is my own belief. People can call it a conspiracy if they want to, but there's enough facts and evidence, even within our country, to show that there have been state players, government officials, people in the police, in the military that have been involved in some of these crimes that have taken place against children. And me exposing it and exposing certain people wasn't very well received by the likes of our Secret Intelligence Service and government officials, because I'm pretty much exposing what they're all truly really about and what they're really covering up.
And so you've garnered a bit of attention for that. And, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It is initiating conversations, which is good. Right. It needs to happen. Near the beginning of the documentary also, they, and I quote, said, Carlene describes herself as a wannabe musician who has mostly worked in hospitality. Is that how you would accurately describe yourself?
That is exactly how I've described myself in certain videos of my own that I've done live or at public presentations. The wannabe musician is just to pull the piss out of myself, because I think it's a great icebreaker when you're meeting new people, that they can see that you're serious about your work. But if you can take the piss out of yourself, you know, you're not rigid, you're not you know, straight up and down suit wearing, tie wearing kind of person. I'm just me. I've played music my whole life. It was a way for me to make money back in the days. I still play a little bit of music. I'm not, you know, not worthy of Grammys or anything like that, but I'm not too bad, you know, but it's okay to pull the mickey out of yourself every now and then. And as for the hospitality thing, 23 years I spent in hospitality. I started at probably 12 years old doing catering with my auntie, and it kind of grew from there into working in bars, and then I started running restaurants, started running hotels, and then I kind of finished back in the kitchen where I started before I gave it all up to fight for our babies.
Nice. That's awesome. It is good. It's always good to be able to take the piss out of yourself sometimes. I mean, we've got to laugh now and then. It's the healthiest thing out there. Another quote that was made on there, who was the journalist who said it? What is her name again? Penfold. So she says, Carlene led a sovereign hikoi of truth, which looks on the face of it like Indigenous activism. But then within a few minutes, another quote that she made was that it spreads an assertion of conspiracy theories and anti-Semitism. So sort of implying that there is some sort of, discrimination or hatred towards Jews as well. I haven't seen any of this personally. What is your comment on this?
I don't even think I've ever mentioned the word Jew in my whole life, my whole entire life. The sovereign hikoi of truth was exactly that. It was a hikoi about the truth of the sovereignty of our nation, and as well as us as individuals, as a people, because too many people are caught in this matrix and they're happy to be governed by a centralized system. And on this fight for freedom, I learnt about sovereignty, I learnt about individual sovereignty, and I learnt about the true jurisdiction of our people as tangata whenua, learning about our Declaration of Independence, he Wakaputanga, and what that brings to us, for us, what that was done for, which is sovereignty, to not be ruled by any other nation. Also, Te Tiriti o Waitangi allows us as hapu to be self-determining, which is sovereignty again. So that's what the sovereign hikoi of truth was created for. Our generation, we're sick and tired of having to live under this centralized corporation. But again, that comes down to our own allowing that as well. Our people, our Māori people, in certain positions, taking money from this corporation instead of helping to free their people, and not just Māori people. Our declaration and Te Tiriti are both for all people, for us to stand on this whenua in this country as sovereign beings, not citizens, not persons, none of that crap. So that's what the sovereign hikoi of truth was about. And when we all went to Waitangi, we went there with the hopes that our elders, our confederation of chiefs, would hear our plea for help to stand up against this tyranny. And we presented all the facts and evidence. We had expert witnesses come and speak on behalf of doctors, nurses, scientists, everything. We done everything the right way. And our hope was that our elders, our confederation, would hear the truth and stand up and go, okay, there is something wrong with this picture, and we have the power and the authority to do something about this. So let's do something. Unfortunately, it didn't quite happen that way, but it's not to say it's not going to happen.
So would you agree with the description of Indigenous activism regarding the hikoi of truth?
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, because it is about an Indigenous people. We are Indigenous, right? All of our cultures, such as our Aborigine or Origine brothers and sisters in Australia, our Native American Indian brothers and sisters, our Inuit brothers and sisters, we are all Indigenous peoples and Indigenous cultures. So yeah, I'm okay with that label. It's the anti-Semitism that I have a massive problem with, because I don't
have no idea where that might have come from.
Have absolutely no idea whatsoever. I think because they're trying to push me into this box of white supremacism, it could come off the back of that. But I'm not too sure where their thinking is around anti-Semitism, because I actually don't have a problem with any race whatsoever.
Yes, well, I've met you a few times personally, and I can honestly say that it did really confuse me when they used this word in association with you, because it just didn't really make any sense. So I'm glad I've been able to talk to you about that and just clear that up a bit. Anti-Semitism, that's a pretty far out sort of accusation, implication sort of thing. And I just can't see where it came from.
Them actually saying that out loud on that documentary, it is there for everyone to see. If I was to push through with a defamation case, I would just need that one remark.
Absolutely. And do you have any plans to seek legal advice for a case of defamation?
I'm talking with some people about it, but look, money is an issue, right? If I'm going to do this, it's going to take a bit of money to get me anywhere near filing any kind of proceeding. Finding a lawyer who is pure of heart and understands our fight, and is willing to
Mm.
support me all the way through that. So it's an ongoing conversation. For me, if this was me a year ago, I wouldn't have given two shits. But I don't
Yeah.
want this to happen to anyone else. And the only way to help stop that happening again is to do something about it. So ongoing conversation, and I watch this space moment.
Ai, ka pai, thank you for that. So also in this documentary, I just wanted to address the fact that they seem to have taken issue with your relationship with Calvin and Hannah in Counterspin Media, and they seem to imply that you were behind, far right. You were into far right activism and white supremacy and neo-Nazism. What's your response to that, Carlene?
My relationship with Calvin Alp is somewhat of a personal friendship outside of activism. Our personal views on certain things align, but that's something that we keep to ourselves. Like I said, it's a personal relationship. Other than that, professionally, we support each other's work and what we do, and our work is the fight for truth, the fight for freedom. And anything that I do, he supports. Anything that they do, I support. And I don't see anything that either of us have done wrong. One thing that I'm really pissed off at, though, is that they pretty much made out that I was too stupid to think for myself, and that they had somehow kind of brainwashed me and kind of coaxed me into saying certain things that I say. And I want to make this loud and clear. I am very capable of speaking my own truth. I don't need anyone to tell me what to do, what to say. And even if Calvin tried to force something down my throat, he'd get a punch in his. Right? No
Well,
one
I think
tells
anybody
no
who
one
knows
tells
you
me what to
properly,
do.
Carly, will know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone who knows you will know that you can absolutely stand up for yourself, and you can absolutely make your own decisions about things, because you are that independent sort of warrior sort of woman. And yeah, you definitely have a head and a brain on your shoulders.
Yeah, and I think
You don't
something that
come off
we're
to me as a
both
pawn of anything.
yeah, and I think something that I can say that both Calvin and I have really tried to do, and Hannah as well, Damien as well, is to encourage other people to speak their truth, to stand up and be another voice for us. Because the more of us that are speaking, the more of us doing our own podcast, the more of us doing our own lives and exposing all the fuckery, it's just going to make it so much harder for people like Stuff or Te Punaha Matatini to shut us down.
Mm. And just on a personal note, how's your partner coping with all of this?
How are you coping, my love?
Right.
She's
Oh,
great.
hey baby, didn't know you were there. Good to hear your voice. She doing all right though?
Yeah, she's doing fantastic. Look, she's a harder freedom fighter than I am. She's one that keeps me going. She loves all this controversial stuff, especially when it comes to the corporation and their minions. So she's
Mm.
excited for what's to come. If we look at doing a defamation case, she'll be right there, right at the front, leading the way. So she's doing awesome,
Lovely.
and I couldn't have done
Oh,
this without
great.
her.
Absolutely. I'd be lost without the support of my partner as well. So I know how important that is. So, a huge thank you to her for supporting you through this big journey. And I think it's only going to get bigger from the looks
Right.
of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you planning on being in Wellington on the 23rd?
We are now.
Yes.
We've
Yes.
because of after our hikoi, we decided to kind of pull back. Like I said, I was going to pull back from social media because we've been creating sanctuaries all around Northland, and we've been offered a property that we've decided to take on our own and create our own sanctuary. So we
Wow.
were just gonna dig into the whenua, but after this Fire and Fury flopumentary, the amount of people that have reached out to say, please come to Wellington. We had said no 4 days ago. As of last night, we said, okay, we're coming. We're coming.
Yeah, this
we'll
footage has definitely changed a lot of things, and it has changed the way people feel a lot. So, and quite similarly, I don't know if this is a good analogy, but you remember that the first lot of violence down at Parliament just seemed to really incentivise more people to turn up the very next day. And I think the effect of this documentary is quite similar at the moment. It's sort of made people who have already decided they're not going to the protest on the 23rd, that made them rethink it and the importance of it. So I'm hearing there's lots of different other freedom-aligned groups who are getting into it and are actually going to be there. So
I think it's important because no matter what anyone thinks of Freedom Rights Coalition or Brian Tamaki or whoever's organised this, us coming together in solidarity is going to be the key to us winning this war, right? We all need to come together. In He Waka Pūtanga, it says it, for us to all come together in our collective capacity and put aside all our animosities for the fight for freedom and the fight for our sovereignty and our tino rangatiratanga, our right to self-determine and self-govern ourselves. And that couldn't be more true than it was 200 years ago being today. So we're going to jump on with the hikoi from Cape Reinga, which is leaving, I believe, midnight Friday night. It's about an hour and a half from us. So we'll jump on and we're going to hikoi down with the convoy and be a part of this. Could be possibly an historic moment, another historic moment for us. So why not, you know? Why not?
Exactly. It will definitely generate further conversations and further mainstream media coverage, I can imagine, and you know how we all look forward to seeing what they have to say.
Oh yeah.
But hey, Carlene, that's all the questions that I had lined up for today. Is there anything else that you would like to maybe speak on in regards to that flopumentary?
Do your research into who these people are, okay, and send them a nice love letter asking them to follow their ethics, follow their own guidelines and stick to the truth. Stop being so opinionated, because they're making New Zealand journalism look terrible. But other than that, I just want to say thank you to all the outpouring of love and support, to all the people who have supported our mahi over the last 2.5 years, who know who we truly are as people, as freedom fighters, and who know that all we want is the best for all of us and to free our country from this tyranny.
Absolutely. And I think you made a comment near the end of the documentary about wanting the whole structure of governance gone. And yeah, I can absolutely see where that's coming from. So anyway, thank you so much for your time, Carlene. I really appreciate you jumping on right now and answering these questions and, you know, giving us a better context of the footage and images of you that they used in this documentary, which I think is really important. So yeah, again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you to you, sis, for being another freedom fighter and getting our truth out there. Love you very much.
All right. Thank you so much. Ka kite, Carlene. All right. So that was a really good chat, you guys. It was really important to get some more context on that. And hey, I just wanted to say just at the end here, as you all know, I don't get paid for the things that I do here. If you would like to support me in any way, I am selling wee stickers at the moment. So it's $10 for 3 stickers. If you can support me, I would really appreciate it. So ngā mihi whānau, we'll catch you in our next interview.